All right, the season is going on, but one of those beguiling things that always causes us pause: backcourt violations, National Federation of High School Basketball rules. Let's look at 10 play scenarios today. Make sure we are up to snuff on our understanding of backcourt rules. Let's do that starting now. Greetings and welcome back to the Basketball Rules Expert, the YouTube show where we take National Federation of High School Basketball rules, lift them off the printed page, breathe life, simplify, clarify, amplify, and so that we can take the rules with us onto the basketball court where it is most important. Greetings again, everybody. My name is Greg Austin with A Better Official. We've been crafting video and officiating high school basketball for quite some time. Consider myself knowledgeable about the rules of basketball. This show's sole purpose is to help you on a path to becoming a basketball rules expert as well. And if this is the content that you find valuable as a basketball official, great time to do all the things. Hit like, subscribe, and the notify so you don't miss out on any of our new content. Before we get started with each and every show, a shout out to those who help fuel the show, our tremendous show supporters. Carl Chandler, Louis Hessler, Mike Goodwin, Darwin Sonata, and Jordan Trupner. Much appreciated and much love. If you want to support the show, there's always an opportunity. There'll be a link down in the show notes below. Awesome. Today we're looking exclusively at backcourt rules, National Federation of High School plays that involve processing, right? We have to process. They don't happen in an instant. Ultimately, the violation occurs in an instant, but when the violation occurs, there are things that have to happen preceding that violation. Things can be, variables can get thrown at us and confuse us when we see those plays. So what's really critical is a firm understanding of the rules themselves so that we're not surprised and we can process those plays in the moment and have confidence that we're adjudicating those plays properly. Backcourt rules. Beguiling at times. Let's take a look at our very first play scenario. A1 catches the throw-in pass with 1 foot on the floor in Team A's front court and the other foot not touching the floor. The non-pivot foot then comes down in Team A's backcourt. The officials rule a backcourt violation on Team A. Were the officials correct? Yes or no? Right? Throw-in pass, player has 1 foot in the front court, 1 foot in the air when they catch the ball. Then they put a foot down in the backcourt, and the officials rule a backcourt violation. Right? We need to have a firm understanding always, of course, as basketball officials, of status of the ball, status of the players. We know that there's a rules exception in place that allows a player during a throw-in to jump from the backcourt, catch the ball in the air, and land in the front court, but that's not what occurs on this play. On this play, the player, when they catch the ball with 1 foot in the front court, has front court status by rule. When the player catches the ball in the front court, they have front court status by rule. They have 1 foot in the front court, 1 foot not in the front court, but it's in the air. This is not a situation where the player has caught the ball in the air. This is a situation where the player has established front court status on the court. And then when they then step into the backcourt, they have committed a backcourt violation by rule. That's what we have in this situation. So in this situation where the officials ruled a backcourt violation, were the officials correct? Yes. Yes, they were. All right, our officials nailed it. Let's move on to our next play scenario. A1 inbounds the ball from the division line. A2 jumps from the front court, controls the ball in the air, and while still in the air, passes it to A3, who is in the backcourt. The officials rule a backcourt violation on Team A. Were the officials correct? Yes or no? Okay, so we have a throw-in near the division line. Of course, with throw-ins, it doesn't matter where the throw-in comes from, but it's helpful to visualize. So we have a throw-in from the division line. Player jumps from the front court, catches the ball in the air, which we know there's a backcourt exception that allows them to do that. But then they release a pass before they contact the backcourt to a teammate who has backcourt status. Is this a backcourt violation by rule? Whenever we analyze backcourt plays, right, what we always have to think about is, okay, does this meet the criteria of the rule? And okay, it meets all the criteria. They had front court status, backcourt status. But wait a minute, there's a couple of exceptions. Do the exceptions apply? And we analyze all of that. We work through the algorithm of backcourt violation, and then we ultimately come up with a ruling. So we could be confused here because the exception would seem to apply because a player jumped from the front court, landed or caught the ball in the air, but then they release a pass. Right? So we have to understand status here. Right? A player jumped from the front court, caught the ball. What is the status of the ball? The ball has front court status. The ball in contact with a player has the status of that player. Right? Really straightforward. Now we know that there's an exception that would allow this player to land in the backcourt even though they had front court status and landed in the backcourt status. During a throw-in, there's an exception that says that's legal behavior. But the status of the ball is now front court status. This player then releases a pass, and instead of landing in the backcourt, releases a pass to a teammate who has backcourt status. So the exception has no factor on this play anymore. And the player, when they catch the ball in the backcourt, has caused a backcourt violation by rule. So in this situation where the officials ruled a backcourt violation, were the officials correct? Yes or no? Yes. Yes, they were. 2 questions down, and our crew is nailing it at 100%. Let's look now at our next rule scenario. A1 is making a throw-in along the sideline in Team A's backcourt. A1 makes the throw-in to A2, who is standing in Team A's front court. B2 tips the pass immediately off the throw-in. A2 jumps from Team A's front court, catches the pass in the air, and lands in Team A's backcourt. The officials rule a backcourt violation on Team A. Were the officials correct? Yes or no? Well, this is an easy one because I know there's an exception that during a throw-in, a player is allowed to jump from a front court, catch the ball in the air, and land in the backcourt. And this player jumped from the front court, caught the ball in the air, and landed in the backcourt. So that, wait a minute. Okay. All right, the ball was tipped by the defender prior to that, right? So in this situation, we have to understand that the throw-in has ended by rule. The throw-in ends, and the opportunity for an exception ends when the ball is legally touched inbounds, right? So in this instance, the throw-in ended, and the rules and restrictions and the exception that allows that player to jump ended when the ball was legally touched by the defender. Legally touched by any player on the court ends the throw-in. Okay? So when the player jumps from the front court and catches the ball in the air, there is no exception. So the player jumped from the front court, had front court status, caught the basketball, and then caused the ball to gain backcourt status. This would be a backcourt violation by rule. So in this instance, were the officials correct? No. No, they were not. Wait a minute. So, in this instance, were the officials correct? Yes. Yes, they were. Oh boy. Looking at the wrong thing. Our crew, 100% so far. Let's see if they can make it going on the... Let's see if we could continue that streak on our next play scenario. A1 passes to A2, who catches the ball with both feet completely in the backcourt. Pivoting on her left foot, A2 then steps completely into the front court with her left foot. Pivoting on her left foot, A2 then steps completely into the front court with her right foot. Then she reverses the process by bringing her right foot completely back into the backcourt. The officials rule a backcourt violation on Team A. Were the officials correct? Yes or no? Right? We've got a player, catches the ball, both feet in the backcourt, using her left foot as a pivot, moves her right foot into the front court, clearly establishing that foot in contact with the front court, and then reverse pivots legally and moves that foot back into the backcourt. The officials rule a backcourt violation on the play. Were the officials correct? Again, as always, we come back to status. What is the status of the player? Right? The player has both feet in the backcourt when they catch the ball. The ball has backcourt status. The player then contacts the front court with one of their feet. What is the status of the player now? We have to have an absolute complete understanding of this in order to adjudicate plays properly. A player who is in contact with the backcourt has backcourt status. Simple, straightforward. The ball, if it is in contact with the backcourt, has backcourt status, right? The ball bounces in the backcourt. If part of the player is in the front court and part is in the backcourt status applies, right? By rule. So, in this situation, we have a player with backcourt status. They move one of their feet and contact the front court, but one of their feet remains in the backcourt. This player has backcourt status by rule. We must have complete understanding of that fact. When they then pivot back and put both feet in the backcourt now, they still have backcourt status. So in the entire process, they had backcourt status, backcourt status, backcourt status. No front court status. What would be necessary to establish front court status? A player would need to be standing and be standing in the front court, having front court status, holding the basketball, or if they were a dribbler moving from the back court to the front court, this player, let's say, starts to dribble, they need to, as a dribbler moving from back court to front court, have all 3 points, both feet and the ball, contacting the front court before front court status is gained. So having an understanding of front court status is absolutely critical to adjudicating plays, and it's really important when understanding how to adjudicate backcourt plays. So on this play, where the officials ruled a backcourt violation, were our officials correct, yes or no? No. No, they were not. All right. Our crew's streak has been broken. Let's see if they can start a new streak and look at our next play scenario. A1 from her own end line attempts a throw-in to A2, who is standing near the top of the free throw line. The throw-in pass is high and deflects off A2's hands into Team A's backcourt, where A3 recovers the loose ball and begins dribbling. The officials rule a backcourt violation on Team A. Were the officials correct? Yes or no, right? This is a common play scenario that is presented. consistently throughout the season, the question comes up, is this a backcourt violation? And we can look at the elements of the play which make it consistently come up as a question, right? But what do we have? In order to have a backcourt violation, we must have team control in the front court, or we must have team control on the court. We must be the last to touch in the front court and the first to touch in the backcourt. Simple, really straightforward. We understand that as we adjudicate backcourt plays, and then we have to, of course, apply the exceptions. But in this situation, we have a throw-in, the ball is deflected, the team is definitely the last to touch in the front court. Player goes in the backcourt, picks up the basketball, and they are the first to touch in the backcourt. So we've got that last to touch, first to touch scenario, right? Which triggers us thinking, okay, backcourt violation. But what's the element that's missing is we have not established team control on the court. Okay? We have team control that's given during the throw-in only for the administration of fouls, right? But in order to establish team control on the court, we must establish player control on the court. When the throw-in pass deflected, was muffed, fumbled by, or not caught by this player who contacted it, we have not yet established. When did we establish team control on the court? When the ball was collected, picked up in the backcourt, right? So that is our, we are missing an element. We cannot have a backcourt violation by rule on this play. So when the officials ruled a backcourt violation on this play, were the officials correct? Yes or no? No. No, they were not. All right, let's see if our crew can now get back on track. Let's look at our next play scenario. A1's try for goal misses. A2 grabs a rebound at Team A's basket and passes the ball to A2, but the pass sails into the backcourt. A2 races back and recovers the ball in the backcourt. The officials rule a backcourt violation on Team A. Were the officials correct? Yes or no, right? So Team A is in the front court. Team A has a try for goal. So obviously prior to Team A's try for goal, we had team control on the court in the front court. We've got a release of a try, which ends team control by rule, right? End team's control. An attempt for rebound. Teammate of the player who tried for goal grabs the ball, passes out to a teammate, but the ball sails into the backcourt. They go into the backcourt and retrieve the basketball. Has a backcourt violation occurred in this situation? We had team control, we had no team control, and then when the player in the front court grabbed the rebound, was holding or dribbling the basketball, we reestablished team control with player control. Then, when they subsequently, and they obviously have front court status, when they subsequently passed the ball into the backcourt, the ball gained backcourt status, and the team was the last to touch in the front court, and the first to touch in the backcourt. This is a backcourt violation by rule. Were our officials correct? Yes or no? Yes, they were. Yes, they were. We're back on track with the correct ruling on the play. So understanding status in this situation is critical to our success. Understanding front court status, team control, right? Release of a try, no longer team control. Rebounder grabbing the basketball, gaining status, gaining player control, gaining team control, then passes the ball to the backcourt, gains backcourt status, first to touch in the backcourt after being the last to touch in the front court, a backcourt violation by rule. All right, our crew's back on track. Excellent. A lot of backcourt violations in this game. All right, let's look at our next play scenario. During a throw-in, A1 passes the ball to A2 in the front court. The ball bounces off A2, bounces on the floor in the front court, and then rolls into the backcourt where the ball is recovered by A3. The officials rule a backcourt violation on Team A. Were the officials correct? Yes or no? During a throw-in, A1 passes the ball to A2 in the front court. The ball bounces off of A2, so the player did not catch the basketball. It bounces on the floor in the front court. Is that a thing? And then rolls into the backcourt where it's recovered by A3. Our officials rule a backcourt violation on this play. But if we look at the status of all things involved here, right? The status, we need to know those things. The ball gained front court status, yes, but do we have the elements necessary for a backcourt violation? We need team control on the court and then last to touch in the front court. We have last to touch on the front court on this play. We have first to touch in the backcourt on this play. But what's missing is the third element. We do not have team control on the court. We do not have player control in this situation until the ball is collected in the backcourt. So in this situation where the officials ruled a backcourt violation, were the officials correct? No. No, they were not. But are a crew struggling yet again? Can we recover and get a ruling correct? Let's look at our next play scenario. While making a throw-in from the backcourt, A1 passes the ball directly to A3 in the front court. A3 muffs the ball, and the ball bounces directly into the backcourt, where A4 retrieves. The officials rule a backcourt violation on Team A. Were the officials correct? Yes or no? All right, this play brings up an excellent point in that the throw-in was from the backcourt to a player who's... We've come unglued. All right, this scenario brings up an excellent point in that the throw-in was from the backcourt to a player in the front court, right? The point it brings up is sometimes our brain can get confused if we start thinking about this throw-in is a backcourt throw-in or a front court throw-in because the throw-in is adjacent to a certain part of the court. It makes absolutely no difference. Any point along the out of bounds where the throw-in comes from, the rules remain the same. Whether the ball had previously been in the front court and now is being thrown in from the backcourt, these are not factors when it comes to adjudicating backcourt plays. But if we recognize like a throw-in from the end line that is thrown all the way back to the division line, sometimes we can sort of get disconnected from the fact that this is a throw-in, exceptions apply, and all of the things. And the same thing can occur, a throw-in from the other end line, right? And it's thrown and we have a play at the division line, right? The distance can affect our thinking on a play. But in this situation, we do not have the elements necessary for a backcourt violation. On this play, were the officials correct? No. No, they were not. All right, we're struggling. A string of incorrect rulings. Can it be repaired? Let's look at our very next play scenario. A1, after dribbling in the backcourt, throws a pass towards A2 in the front court. B2, who is in the front court, forcefully bats the pass toward the backcourt, where A1 catches the ball in the backcourt. The officials rule a backcourt violation on Team A. Were the officials correct? Yes or no? Okay, we have a situation where we have team control on the court. Players dribbling in the backcourt, throws a pass towards the front court. Opponent bats the ball back towards the player, and they catch the ball in the air. The officials rule a backcourt violation on this play. Were the officials correct? Yes or no? Right? So this is an excellent play. It invokes a misinterpretation from many years ago, which actually ruled this to be a backcourt violation. Subsequently has been corrected. Language has been added to the backcourt rule to try to fix that misinterpretation, right? But if we just look at our fundamental formula for success on a backcourt violation: team control on the court, last to touch in the front court, first to touch in the backcourt. Is that what occurred on this play? We had team control on the court. Ball had backcourt status. Threw the ball to the front court. A defender gave the ball backcourt or front court status by contacting the basketball, knocking it back, and our player on team A catches the ball, again giving it backcourt status. What's missing in the equation? Right? We have no last to touch in the front court. The erroneous rules interpretation said, hey, when that player caught the ball in the backcourt, they were simultaneously the last to touch a ball with front court status and the first to touch a ball with backcourt status. That obviously makes no sense. That ruling is incorrect. The correct adjudication on this play is that this is a legal play by rule. So in this instance, were our officials correct? Yes or no? No. No, they were not. Hey, we can't get them all right. Let's look at another play scenario. During a throw-in by A1 from the end line by Team A's basket, the throw-in is touched by A2 before it goes across the division line where it was recovered by A3. The officials rule a backcourt violation. Were the officials correct? Yes or no? Right? So again, we have our proximity question. We have a throw-in from the end line under the basket. Team is, in the front court, and they have an end line throw-in, throw the ball back towards the division line. The ball is touched by A2 before it goes across and recovered by A3, and the officials erroneously rule a backcourt violation on the play, right? And we've covered this in previous questions. We're kind of reiterating. It also gives us a chance to reiterate that the proximity, the location of the throw-in is not a factor on the play, and we can become mentally a little bit disconnected from the fact that this is a throw-in on this play. But what's missing on the play is an absence of team control on the court. Does not exist until the ball achieves backcourt status. Now we have player control on the court and team control on the court with the ball in the backcourt. We have no backcourt violation on this play. And it just reiterates an important point that we need all the elements necessary for a backcourt violation in order to put a ruling on the play. This would be a correctable as a crew because we've had an inadvertent whistle and made an erroneous ruling. But in the end, on this play, were the officials correct? No. No, they were not. This is a bad miss. We don't want this as a crew. We want to fix this as a crew if possible. Not the way we want to end the show. Another missed ruling by our crew. Well, our crew made quite a few mistakes with backcourt rulings. Hopefully, the mistakes made by these crews in these situations help us get better as basketball officials and have a clearer understanding of backcourt rules in National Federation of High School Basketball Rules. Thanks for joining us today for Basketball Rules Expert. If this is the video content you find valuable, it'd be a great time to do all the things. Hit like, hit subscribe, and hit notify so you don't miss out on any of our new content. We live stream every Wednesday and Friday. Join the game. Put your voice in the game. and let's all get better together. Do allow me a moment to thank those who fuel our show, our tremendous show supporters. Carl Chandler, Louis Hessler, Mike Goodwin, Darwin Sonata, and Jordan Trupner. Much appreciated and much love. If you want to support the show, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'll put a link above and in the show notes below. Tremendous. We have additional video content available for you here. This is a video I have selected for you. This is a video YouTube has selected for you. You've got to make a choice. Make your choice. Choose wisely, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care.